Welcome, folks, to CNC Open Sports Take, second show. We're working out a few bugs, so bear with us. Want to say, hope you guys are checking in on Twitter and subscribing to our channel. We're looking forward to getting some input from everybody. So let's kick off the show today. We're going to talk about the NBA Finals. We're going to talk about some college football, some recruiting takes, and away we go. So I'm going to send it over to Chase. Chase, let's start the show with the NBA Finals. Give me your opinion. What do you think?
Yep. So first off, I wanna be the sportsman that I tell you guys I am. Congratulations to the Golden State Warriors. They won their second NBA Finals in 2 years. It's quite an accomplishment. So I give them props for that. They beat LeBron James, and we all know in this day and age that's probably the toughest thing to do in basketball is to take a team down that's led by LeBron James. Kevin Durant, got to tip my hat to him. He did exactly what I said he had to do. He had to come out with the finals and the NBA Finals MVP trophy, and he did both. He had a hell of a series. Curry and all those guys took a back seat, did exactly what he had to do, and I thought that even though he joined the Warriors and had to join the Warriors to win it, I did think that he himself put in a good enough performance to win the NBA Finals, and I was impressed. I was really impressed with him. Like you said, in this show, we're going to be talking about some more college football, some recruiting. We're going to talk to you guys about the Big 12 and what it has to do to get back into its prominence. And like you said, we'll be talking about a little NBA Finals, too. I got a couple things I want to say, including I want to tell you guys what I think the Cleveland Cavaliers' next move has to be if they want to beat the Golden State Warriors. But we are going to start the show with some Big 12 talk, with some Oklahoma talk. And I'm going to send that to my co-host to start this off. So, yeah, let's get ready, guys. Let's have a good show.
Well, let me go ahead and chime in here on the NBA Finals. I have but one question, and I understand your congratulations on Kevin Durant and stuff, but I want to know where this kind of performance was in games 5 and 6 when he was in Oklahoma City. Kevin Durant gets no love or forgiveness or anything from me. You took the coward's way out. Can't beat them, join them. You could have done that here in Oklahoma City, but you didn't put forth half of the effort I seen when you were with Golden State as you did when you were with Oklahoma City. Had you had done that in Oklahoma City, we'd have had a title. So we'll step back. Congratulations to them for winning. I think my take on LeBron and them, I think they're going to have to go after Paul George and maybe Carmelo Anthony and put a super team up. To me, that's the only way they're going to compete with them. And unfortunately, that's the way the NBA is going. I'm from the old school. I'm from the Magic and Bird stuff in the 80s. I want to see basketball players play basketball. Not let's go out and let's nitpick and find this guy, and let's build a super team. Eventually, that's going to ruin the NBA. A lot of people are going to disagree with me, call me old-fashioned or whatever, but that's not how it should be. If I'm on a team and I get beat in the finals, I'm telling you this much. I'm not going to join the team that just beat me. That's coward's way out. Oklahoma City made you, Kevin Durant. The Golden State Warriors didn't make you. You made the Golden State Warriors because without Kevin Durant, the Warriors don't repeat. Or they don't win this year. The Cavaliers repeat. That was the deciding factor in this finals was Kevin Durant. And I'm going to get off the NBA because, like I said, I'm not real in tune with it. Let's jump into college football. As you all know, we talked about it last week. Bob Stoops has retired. Lincoln Riley has now stepped up. So now the Big 12 has to step up. In order for this conference to get back to where it needs to be, Oklahoma's holding their own. Texas has got to become relevant again. And they haven't since Mack Brown. So in comes Tom Herman, this guy that is supposed to be the next big thing in Texas. And we've heard this before. We heard it was Charlie Strong. Tom Herman comes in and starts just puffing smoke. Texas is back. Texas is back. Texas is this. Texas is that. They get a few recruits, and we'll get into that later, where one of ours is flipped back to the good side. But that, nevertheless, it's going to take more than just your puff of smoke, Tom Herman, for you to bring Texas back to where they need to be. You're inheriting one of the top 5 coaching jobs in the country. Nobody will argue that. But it's going to take more than talk. You're going to have to go in and you're going to have to beat Oklahoma. You're going to have to beat Oklahoma State. You're going to have to beat Kansas State. And God forbid you cannot lose to Kansas. That's taking nothing away from Kansas. They're an NCAA Division I football program. But I don't want to see your smoke. I want you to show me some fire on the sidelines, and let's get this conference back to where it needs to be. Because right now, it's a 2-horse race. It's Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State, no matter the firepower they have, and don't get me wrong, folks, Stillwater's loaded with Mason Rudolph and their receivers and their running. They're loaded. But they're still not at the notch with Oklahoma yet. And that's not talking to you as an Oklahoma fan. That's talking to you as a football fan. I'm still going to stick by my guns. I still have Oklahoma winning the national championship. With Lincoln Riley, I think we're not going to miss a beat. I think you're going to see a few things a little different. But you're going to see what he's brought for the last 2 years. Now he's going to take that into his head coaching thing. I think recruiting's going to improve or stay where it's at. And I think we're still the class of the Big 12. That being said, you've got a lot of national pundits, Paul Feinbaum and stuff like that. He did this list of coaches who he thought would win a national championship. He said, give him Tom Herman, and I think he said Harbaugh. Mr. Paul, Lincoln Riley will win a national championship before any of those people on your list. I know you're not a big fan of Oklahoma football. I understand that. When we own the SEC, I can understand that you're not very happy with us. But come on, jump on this little Sooner. There's room for you. We might put you back in the corner and decide to kick you off halfway down the field. But let's start talking to this out of not hatred or dislike for a university or dislike for a conference. Start talking to people about football. That's what you're supposed to be. When we turn you on ESPN, that's what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be our go-between between the fans and the programs. I want to hear your opinion, because your opinion is just like mine. Everyone's got one. They're like assholes. They both stink. I don't want to hear your opinion. I want you to back it up with facts. So, with that being said, Chase, what do you think about this, the coaching change and the Big 12, where it's at, where it needs to go? Are we looking at realignment? Are we looking at adding on other teams? Are we looking to go to another conference? Tell me what you think, my friend.
All right. Well, the first thing that I wanted to say, and this was about, I know a lot of people have said, I've put the question out, can we thrive under Lincoln Riley, much like we did with Bob? And I really do think we can. I think Lincoln Riley, when I look at him and I look at the way he relates to Oklahoma, I see a lot of the LA Dodgers situation with Dave Roberts. Don Mattingly was, the hard-ass guy, the guy that, would bust heads if he needed to, and you knew he was going to. And, but he was hit and miss. The Dodgers were either getting into the playoffs and losing, or they were just missing the playoffs. And that's how Bob's last couple years were, is we were on the cusp of being the best team in the Big 12, and then we weren't, or we were the best team in the Big 12, and we just missed making the Final Four. So I see a lot of Lincoln Riley and Dave Roberts, as in Lincoln Riley's a player's coach. All the guys love him, not to mention, his quarterback and him have a great bond with each other. I'm sure he has a great bond with the running backs and all the young receivers that we have. So I think that we're going to be fine under that. As far as the Big 12 and returning to a state of being a top dog conference, I totally agree. I think, you can only control so much of it, but Texas has to be better. That they have to be a better program, and they have to be more of a threat. Right now, it's one thing when Texas and Oklahoma play, but you have to have that competitiveness there, and not just because it's Oklahoma and Texas, that's why it's a big game. It should be a big game because nobody on that team should want to be friends with anybody. Nobody on that team should want to be knocked on their ass on any play. That should be one of the most hard-fought, dirty games of the year. And it's turned into we only want to watch it because it's Oklahoma and Texas. And that's on Texas, because I personally, it's been a while since Texas has had a substantially better team than Oklahoma going into that game. It's been a while. The last couple times they've beat us, I think Claude and I can both agree there was no way in hell that should have happened. Oklahoma really dropped the ball on that one. I don't know about moving to another conference, though. I just don't think that that's what they want to do right now. That's definitely something that they could do, but I think if you wait around long enough, you're gonna see that the Big 12 is going to get better. Looking at Texas's recruits for the next year, they already look like they're getting a little better. They got guys returning. They obviously have their new coach, Tom Herman, and like he said, Tom Herman's been, using a lot of the mouth lately, so we'll see if he can back it up on the field. But I definitely think that Texas needs to be better, and it needs to at least be those three every year need to be competing, and not just Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. And that's the way it is right now, unfortunately, is, the only two teams you're thinking of winning the Big 12 are Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. And I think Texas is on the come up, but I still think they have a little bit of a ways to go. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. But definitely, I don't think moving is in the cards right now for them. Like I said, I still think we're going to have a great season with Lincoln Riley, though. And I think that you're going to see our offense flourish a little more too, especially if he's calling plays. Him and Baker know what's going on. They know how to run that air raid offense. And, I think you're going to see Oklahoma State and Oklahoma in that Big 12 championship game playing for that Final Four spot. And I think this is going to be a fun one, guys. I'm really looking forward to this season.
So, Chase, didn't mean to interrupt you, but do you see... So you don't think that you could see Oklahoma and Oklahoma State maybe moving to the SEC or the Big Ten?
Maybe the Big Ten, but I don't see them moving to the SEC. I think that would be to the point where that would be a little bit of too excessive of a move, putting them in the same conference with Alabama, LSU, maybe the Big Ten. The Big Ten's not as stacked, and if you put Oklahoma and Oklahoma State in the Big Ten, it kind of, there's a chance that conference can be interesting, and the SEC can still also be interesting. But if you move them to the SEC, my only problem with that is, it's kind of like the Warriors now in the NBA. Moving Oklahoma and Oklahoma State to the SEC, you know for a fact one of the teams in the SEC is going to run the table, and one of them is probably going to be representing half of the national championship. That's just the way it's going to go. Oklahoma, Alabama, Oklahoma State, LSU, it doesn't matter. Take your pick. There's plenty of good programs. LSU is obviously a little diminished now without Leonard Fournette, so we'll see how they get the job done. I think that move would be a little excessive, but the Big Ten, I could see that. I could see the Big Ten. I just don't think a move is in the cards right now, and I think that it's going to take a lot more of a repetitiveness in the Big 12 for them to decide that they want to move.
So, do you see? How do you see this inaugural Lincoln Riley inaugural season with the Big 12? How do you see it? Is there a game when you look at the schedule that kind of gives you a little red flag? Do you think that Oklahoma can run through it undefeated, or Oklahoma State can run through it undefeated and then settle it at the end of the year? What's your call on this? I'm in the favor that Oklahoma's going to have to beat Oklahoma State twice. That's how I see the conference going. I see Oklahoma coming out on top. I see them undefeated at the end of the year. I see Oklahoma State with 2 losses, and they're both to the same team. I see Texas making a move, and I look at the schedule, and the game that stands out is Kansas State. No matter good, bad, they seem to play Oklahoma. We seem to get their best. No matter how bad they are, or how good they are, we seem to get their best game. They can struggle the week before us against, anybody. But when they line up with us, we seem to get their best. That's the game that is the one that kind of bothers me. I'm not worried about Ohio State. Until Ohio State's quarterback can perfect a deep ball, Ohio State does not scare me. They lost a lot of people. Yes, they reload. Not going to argue that point. I don't think that they can handle Baker Mayfield. Sure, they handled him in Oklahoma, but, we had some players that weren't at 100%. Not going to make excuses. We just got beat. But that Kansas State game, that's my red flag for the entire schedule. I don't think there's any team in the country that can beat us. I don't think Alabama can beat us. I don't think Florida State can beat us. I don't think USC can beat us. And I don't think whoever the Big Ten representative is going to be, Michigan, Ohio State, and let's not count Michigan State. But I just think that everything seems to be just coming along. So what do you think about the Big 12 schedule? How do you think we're going to fall? What do you think our loss would be? What team scares you in that, seeing who we play in and where we're playing at? Give me what you think on that.
Yeah, well, I think first off, the first thing that I think everybody can agree on is the game that is going to be watched most closely for Lincoln Riley in his inaugural season. He's got to beat Texas. He has to avoid some scrutiny that he doesn't want to have. He's got to beat Texas. You saw how much heat Bob took for it, and Bob had been there 18 years. You can't lose to Texas, but you really can't do it in the first year after you got the torch passed to you. You've been given one of the best teams in college football. You've been given, I think, the best quarterback in college football. You've been given an outstanding O-line and a returning defense that is older and a smarter defense. You just can't go down there and lose to Texas. As far as the team that scares me the most, and I don't think that they scare me in terms of their talent, but every time we play them, it just seems like we have an issue or two, and that is Iowa State. I feel like every time we play Iowa State, we just take forever to get going.
much, Chase. You're freezing up.
I'm sorry?
Okay, who was your team? Because you froze up. We didn't get to hear it.
Well, I was saying that I think Iowa State's the weirdest team for me, just because something always seems to go wrong when we play them, and it always seems to take us forever to get going.
We get Iowa State at home.
Even then, just when we have to play Iowa State, it just seems like we take forever to get going, and those are the games that Oklahoma ultimately has problems with, when they don't just jump on people. Oklahoma's a lot more successful if it's 21-7 at the end of the first than if it's 10-7. They have to jump on people. They thrive off it, and they always have. And like I said, like he said, I think getting them at home is going to help. I think anytime somebody has to come to Norman, it helps us. But like I said, that team just still worries me. You never know what can happen when we play them. And but like I said, first and foremost, Lincoln Riley, you got to go down there and you got to beat Texas, man. You got to go take care of business for us. And at the end of the year, ultimately, I think it's going to be Oklahoma State and Oklahoma in the Big 12 game. I don't think that there's anybody that can outlast those two, and that'll be a good game. That's always a fun game. It won't be at the end of the year this year. As far as the regular season one goes, we'll have the Big 12 championship game if we both make it. But it'll be interesting to see what it's like playing Oklahoma State more towards the middle of the year instead of the last game of the year like we are accustomed to seeing. So I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm ready for it, and I think it's just going to be a matter of the guys got to step up big.
So, what do you see as the difference between Lincoln Riley and Bob Stoops? Do you see anything? Do you think it's more of a player's coach than Bob was? You know, Bob was well loved by his team. Bob was loved by his team like Barry Switzer was by his. I think Lincoln Riley is going to take that just a little bit higher. I think he's more of a player's coach, like you were saying. But is he going to be able to jump in their ass when something goes wrong? Where do you see, what is his strength, and what do you see his weakness as a head coach coming in? And like you said, he's coming in to basically a diamond. You know what I mean? It's all laid out for him. You know, so, and I'm sure that's a ton of pressure on somebody, because it's never easy to follow a legend. Ask Gibbs and Snellenberger and John Blake how it was to follow Barry Switzer. So, what do you see Lincoln Riley's main strength and the main weakness you see him taking over? What do you see, man?
I don't know if weakness would be the right word for me. I mean, I think that obviously there's going to be some things that Bob obviously will have done a better job doing than Lincoln will in his first year. I don't think he's going to necessarily have a problem getting on to people, but it's definitely going to be a different way of doing things. And I go back to the analogy that I used earlier with the Don Mattingly and the Dave Roberts thing. Don Mattingly and Bob Stoops, they're like. They didn't have a problem with getting on your ass. They were smart. They knew the game. They didn't have a problem with grabbing somebody by the helmet and yelling in their face. And then there's Dave Roberts, who he might not be the guy that's going to yell a lot, but he's the players' coach. All the players like him. You don't ever hear anybody complaining about the coaching and the managing. And that's honestly how I see Lincoln Riley is, this guy's already built a bond with this team. It's not like they just plucked some random guy out of the cesspool that is the fired coaches and said, you know what, we're going to give this guy a contract. They took a guy that the team's familiar with, the school's familiar with, the rest of the coaching staff's familiar with. And I think that they made the right decision, because I think the only other option, and Claude and I both talked about this, is the only other person that probably would have been up for that, if not Lincoln Riley, was Mike Stoops. And I think when it comes down to those two, I think we can both say that we would have rather had Lincoln Riley take that. I'm more of a Lincoln Riley fan myself, but I think that one of his biggest strong suits is going to be he knows these guys, and not to say that Bob Stoops didn't. Bob Stoops, of course, knew each and every player very well, but he was calling the plays. He's still going to call the plays, and he knows Baker Mayfield. He knows as the head coach now he can say, I don't really know if that's a play that we should call, and he really has to think about that more, because calling the plays and being the head coach, that's two jobs, and you can get scrutinized for one if you're doing one wrong. You can call a great play, but if Baker throws an interception on a play that we all think was a good idea, you're going to get criticized by that because you are the head coach. The offensive coordinator and the head coach shared the blame. When Bob Stoops was there, people didn't turn their head and go, damn it, Lincoln Riley. They said Bob Stoops and Lincoln Riley. But now you're calling the plays and you are the head man, which means you're going to be watched. You have to be ready for the criticism. And I think that his strong suit is going to be he knows these guys and he can say, you know what? I know that play is not going to work right now. I know that play is not going to work. The one thing I am interested in is he going to stick to last year? Because one thing I really liked about last year, and I'm sure Claude did too, we broke some trick plays out of the bag last year. That was a fun thing to watch. We broke some plays out where we were throwing it around with the running backs, handing it to the receivers, throwing touchdowns to Baker. I hope that he continues to do that, and I hope that he continues to have those guts even as the head coach, because I thought that was a big confidence boost for them when they would make plays like that and they would get successful plays like that. So I'm interested to see if he continues to have those kind of guts. And like I said, I think he just has to understand that you're calling the plays and you're the head coach, so you have to be ready for any scrutiny that comes, because nobody's going to be looking at anybody else now. You are the offensive coach. It is on you.
Well, I'm going to agree with you. We're going to jump into our main topic, and it's a little early, but it's always good to kind of get this out in the open. We're going to give you our top 5 Heisman candidates. And before we get started, let me give a shout out to the Angry Sooner. Sooner fans, if you're on Twitter and you're not following this guy, it's worth a follow. Great insight, and you're going to enjoy. So shout out to the Angry Sooner. I'm going to give you my top 5, and not going to be in any necessarily order except for number 1, and everybody's going to know where I'm going to go. Baker Mayfield is my odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Great athlete, great competitor, great quarterback, smart, got the gunslinger mentality, fits Oklahoma to a T. Going to set tie up there with Herschel Walker's being the first 3-time person ever brought in to the Heisman 3 years in a row with Herschel. I've got you got to throw Lamar Jackson in there, returning Heisman Trophy winner. So you kind of automatically got to stick him in. The McDonald kid from USC, I think, is phenomenal. Going to have a great year, good prototypical quarterback. Bo Scarborough. I'm going to throw his name in there, and then to finish mine off, I'm going to throw Mason Rudolph in there, just because of what he's got receiver wise. Think he can be the dark horse, but when it's all said and done, I think Baker Mayfield's third time's a charm. He's going to come away with a Heisman Trophy, and be well deserved, because last year I think he got ripped off out of a lot of awards. I mean, if you lead the nation in passing efficiency, you should win the top quarterback award. He doesn't get it. So I thought he kind of got sideswiped, so to speak, for lack of a better term. But he's my odds-on favorite for the Heisman Trophy. Chase, who you got in your 5?
All right, so we're pretty much the same, kind of. I like Lamar Jackson in there. I like Baker Mayfield obviously in there. I like Sam Darnold in there. One guy he didn't have that I'm actually a little high on this year, and I like the fact that he can probably put together a good season. His team might not end up as great, but I like Josh Rosen. I like Josh Rosen, the quarterback out of UCLA. He had a good year last year, and I think he and Darnold are going to be. Darnold, and Mayfield are going to be the three quarterbacks that you watch this year. I think you're going to be able to turn on any college football show, and when it comes to quarterbacks, this is going to be the three that they talk about. This is the big dogs this year. Like I said, I like Darnold and USC and Mayfield and Oklahoma to be a little more successful than Rosen and UCLA. And but the other guy I like another dark horse. And I like Saquon Barkley, the running back out of Penn State. He really surprised me last year. He really surprised me. Penn State was really a nice, pleasant surprise, too, there. It looked like they were going to knock some people off. And they did. They put together a good year. I like Barkley as probably my dark horse. If everybody else were to get screwed out of it. But he is probably the only non-quarterback that I would have in there. Like I said, I just like the way he runs. If you've watched any Penn State football, you know that, especially last year, the more yards he got per game, the more they started running the ball, and the less people were able to stop it. I think his worst game was the last game of the year, and I believe, don't quote me, but I believe Penn State only ran the ball 11 times that game, which is not close to the average amount of carries Barkley had. He averages 18 a game, over 100 yards. He's a good player, and he's got another year under his belt, and that's, in this game, in this modern game, that's very valuable. So I like Barkley in there, and like I said, I like Rosen and Darnold and Mayfield. Ultimately, I like Baker to win it. I'm with him. I think as long as Oklahoma gets successful and they stay successful, it's in the bag for Baker Mayfield. I think people are going to see that Lamar Jackson, he was good last year, but, I think it's different now. It's a lot different. Lamar Jackson did a lot of running the ball and a lot of throwing it deep, and those are probably the two easiest things to stop for a quarterback. It's pretty easy for a defense to drop back into cover 4 and defend a deep ball, and it's pretty easy to pick up a run once he gets back past the line of scrimmage. So, like I said, I like the three air raid quarterbacks over the mobile quarterback this year. But like I said, I think Baker ultimately will be the one that ends up taking it myself.
Okay, sticking with college football, let's kind of shift gears here a little bit. Do you have a dark horse team that could maybe crack that 8, 7, 6, 5 mark there towards the end of the year? You got a team that's a dark horse that maybe they're not talking about, or they are getting a little bit of play, but not enough. Who you got as a dark horse maybe that could crash this whole East here?
They're not. I mean, they're talked about. My dark horse is talked about, but they're definitely not being looked at as a team that's going to be in the Final Four at the end of the year. And I said this about them last year, and they put together a pretty good season. I like Michigan. I do. Last year, Michigan was a good program, and I said last year that they were going to be a team that was going to throw a wrench into things, and they came close. But I don't know. I definitely will say this. I like Harbaugh as a college coach compared to a pro coach. I think we can both agree that he seems to have a different edge to himself when it comes to coaching college football after watching him last year compared to his years at San Francisco. Like I said, I like Michigan. I think that with their running back returning, most of their defense, obviously they will not have Taco Charlton, and that's all right. We'll get to see him wearing that star on his helmet this year. Can't wait to see what Taco does. And I like Michigan to maybe throw a wrench in things if some other teams struggle, and they definitely need to watch out because they're not a team to be taken lightly. Louisville again could be good. there's a lot of teams that could be good, but the big thing is it's going to take USC to struggle, Oklahoma to struggle, Alabama to struggle. One of these teams is going to have to struggle because these dark horse teams are not good enough to just flat out beat them in a foot race. It's just not going to happen. They're going to need a little help, for sure.
Well, I like Michigan Chase. I don't really consider them as a dark horse standing on the outside. My dark horse is Auburn. With Stidham transferring in from Baylor, I think that was one of the things that Auburn had problems with. They didn't have good quarterback play. This guy's going to bring that Big 12 firepower to the SEC and open some people's eyes and say, wait a minute, we can throw the ball here. And Auburn's going to be my scary team out there. They're going to be the team that, and wouldn't surprise me if they don't take Alabama to the ends of it. I don't think they can beat Alabama, but I think they can put a scare in them. Other SEC teams are going to say, wait a minute now, this is not the same Auburn you've seen. So they're my dark horse. Let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead now. That our Heisman thing is set out for the folks at Twitter and are following our CNC Open Sports Take page on Twitter, and then me and Chase on Twitter. We want to know y'all's 5 Heisman candidates. We want to know, who you guys got in it, who you got winning, and it doesn't make any difference who it is. If you agree with us or disagree with it, doesn't matter. That's what this show is all about. You guys getting y'all's voice in. Let's finish up the show, Chase, with we know we got training camps right around the corner. We know we made our pro picks already, and the folks know that we're Cowboy fans. Are you as excited about pro football as you are college? Where do you stand on that? Because I love the Dallas Cowboys, but I absolutely idolize the Oklahoma Sooners, and have since I was a kid. I mean, I popped out of the womb with an OU on one side of my head and a Dallas Star on the other side of my head. So, but to me, I'm more into college football for the stories, for the, the underdog, for the guy, the team that nobody thought could get there, or the player that nobody thought. It just more, it draws my attention more. Not to say that I don't like the NFL, because I love the NFL. I'm ready. I'm ready for the NFL season to get started, but I'm telling you right now, I cannot wait for the kickoff of college football. The saddest day in the world is the day college football season is over. For me, I mean, that's just it. It's right up there with, your first day of school. If you're still in school, your first day on the job, you're just like, oh God, really? To me, it's just, I love college football, but where do you stand on that? You lean more towards college football? You lean more towards the NFL? I mean, where are you at on that debate?
Yeah, I'm much to enjoy the college football season myself, but I don't know if every year I look forward to the NFL more, but I definitely do this year. I think that there's a lot of storylines in the NFL this year that you're going to want to keep track of, and I think that's what's making me so excited. First off, it's the Dallas Cowboys. Like them, hate them, love them, it doesn't matter. The Dallas Cowboys are a storyline, and I got news for the people who don't like the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are relevant. Whether you don't like us, whether you do like us, whether you like Jerry Jones or not, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Dez Bryant, they have transformed our offense, especially Dak Prescott. I'm very excited about the NFL season, and I would say I'm a little more excited for the NFL season because of the Dallas Cowboys, for one. Number two, the Oakland Raiders. Nobody is talking about the Oakland Raiders, and we have. But it seems like every time somebody talks about the AFC, the first words out of their mouth are Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger, and I got news for you right now. If a healthy Oakland Raiders team gets a shot at either of those two in the playoffs, you better be worried. Because had the Raiders stayed healthy last year and had Derek Carr had been there, I'm here to tell you right now, the Patriots would not have been the AFC Super Bowl team. Simple.
No, it would have been the Raiders. It would have been the Raiders.
I like that as the storyline, and the other one is, to me, is just the AFC without the Raiders. I mean, can somebody take down the Patriots? I understand that the Raiders have the potential to, but somebody's got to do it. It's kind of like saying you're going to do something and just never getting around to it and never getting the job done. That's the problem. All these teams say that they're going to take the Patriots out, and nobody's doing it. And God, I wish they would, so I would stop having to hear about Tom Brady and him being the greatest of all time. So I think that there's a lot of storylines this year. That's what gets me more intrigued about the NFL is, the story. There's spectacle to it. And I want to see Dallas prove the people wrong that say that we're going to regress and, we're not going to be as good as last year. Look, here's the deal. We went 13-3 last year. I think we can both agree. Nobody's going to be upset if we go 10-6, 11-5. You could say that we did worse than last year. That's fine. 10-6 is going to win our division this year. I got news for you. 10-6 is going to win that division. Anything more than that is just like last year. It's just overachieving. So I don't want to hear people telling me that the Dallas Cowboys are going to be worse than last year. Yeah, they probably are. Odds of them going 13-3 again or better are slim. It doesn't happen a lot. Not even the Patriots do that often. But don't tell me if they go 10-6 or 11-5. No, they're not as good as last year. Don't tell me that. It's naturally going to happen. It's the way sports work. The Warriors did not go 73-9 the next year. And they had Kevin Durant. And they still didn't do that again. It happens.
I agree with you on the Dallas Cowboy thing, but the one thing that is constantly there, especially after the 13-3, it's Super Bowl or bust. I mean, that's the bottom line. Whether we go 10-6, 11-5, 12-4, whatever. If Dallas doesn't get into the Super Bowl, to me, with what they have and what they showed last year, even with the defensive people who left, if Dallas doesn't go to the Super Bowl, it's a bad season for me. I mean, to me, it just is. But I'm with you. I'm going to stick with our plans for it. Folks, we're just about out of time. Remember to go to Twitter and follow CNC's Ultimate Sports Take. Follow me at OneBoomerSooner3. Chase is going to hand you his Twitter feed. And go on there and give us your feedback on the show and the questions and give us some ideas. If there's something you want us to talk about or there's questions that you want us to answer, give those back to us and let's bring sports and sports talk back to the fan, back to the ordinary Joe who drives a truck, empties the garbage, the policemen, the firemen, the first responders, the housewives, the corporate people, the ladies out there. Let's give sports back to the sports fan so we can talk and argue and come to an agreement or not come to an agreement. But let's bring sports back to the people it was made for, and that's the fans. And once again, guys, shout out to the Angry Sooner. Make sure you're following. any Sooner fan or anybody else that's another fan of another team, follow this guy. Really good. And then I'm going to send it over to Chase. He's going to give you his Twitter handle, and we will see y'all next week. And we'll do some more lively debates. We're going to get into more training camp coming close. Also got the All-Star break coming up. Got the trade deadline coming up in Major League Baseball. And let's get ready, because I think we're going to have a ton of fun here in the days to come with sports. So, Chase, good to see you again, my friend. This is my son. I'm proud of him, bringing him back for his first Oklahoma game here in a couple of months. And we'll do our live show from the Oklahoma-Iowa State game. Proud of him, and I'm going to switch it over to him. So, son, go ahead and throw out your Twitter handle, and let's get this all rolling, and we will do this again next week, folks. So stay in there, hang in there, and let's bring sports talk back to the fans.
Yep. Well, couldn't have said it any better myself. Like he said, be active on Twitter. Be active in the comments. My Twitter handle is Chase047. I got the genuine Twitter one when I made it. I didn't think about what numbers to put or anything. So it's Chase047. Make sure you follow me. Make sure you follow our page, CNC Ultimate Sports Take on Twitter. We set that up, so make sure you follow us and get us going. We'll be tweeting on there and talking about some stuff that happens in between our weekly videos that we don't be able to talk about the day they happen. And like he said, let's get this back to the sports fan. We will be back next week, and like he said, we're going to be talking a little MLB, and I cannot wait for that. I think he knows just as much as I do. I cannot wait to talk about the MLB.
One thing before you head out, Chase, you were talking about your Twitter feed, and you think about that number. You said you really didn't know where that number came from. I'm going to have to take a little credit for that. I brought you into this world as a Sooner fan. That 47 means a lot. 47 in a row the Oklahoma Sooners put up. That is a record, folks, that you will never see broken. That record will never be broken. You'll see the hit streaks in baseball go. You've seen the home run streak broke on both ends in the season and for a career. But that is one record that will remain for time. It'll never go away. So that's where your 4-7 came in. So, again, folks, Boomer Sooner, and we'll see y'all next week.
Yep. See y'all next week, guys.